See, looking at the fact that Nigerians are not too happy with the performance of Super Eagles against the Foxes of Algeria in a friendly game. Well, one of Nigerian former goalkeeper who actually plays straight in Israel and also in Nigeria, Dele Aiyenugba, has called on Jose Peseiro to make sure he look inward to get #1 for Nigeria. Welcoming on the show, 360 Sport on Trust TV. I am Adeni Ajishafe. We'll be starting on that particular first story that has to do with Super Eagles goalkeeping department. Look inward for your #1. Aiyenugba to Peseiro. We have that particular first story, and we'll be looking at that alongside Fidelis Umba, who is in the studio to talk sport with us. Let's have you.
Thank you, Adeni.
Now, that's the first story. We look at Aiyenugba, a former Super Eagles coach. He was there in Israel, like at least always a backup to Vincent Iyama from Kwara United. He did, at least he was able to see it all.
So
yes, to Aiyenugba also. Aha, good one. And Aiyenugba is now saying, looking at what happened yesterday, Peseiro, look inward. At least the inward, I'm sure, he's talking about Nigerian league.
Yeah. For me, I feel like they've had their chances. Maduka has had his, opportunity. He didn't live up to it. I think he, like a friend mentioned the other day, he was more concerned about his social media profile than actually preventing balls from getting into the net. And then Uzoho has actually not impressed. He's had chances upon chances. He's never really impressed. And I don't know why, because he's still relatively young and he's had opportunities, even though he's not really played for a big-time club that has exposed him. But again, beyond looking at the local league, we have some good goalkeepers, no doubt, like the goalkeeper of Remo Stars, But who is our goalkeeper coach? Who's our goalkeeper coach here? I don't think he's done enough, because if you've been the goalkeeping coach over the years, and we keep having, since Enyama left, we've been struggling. Apart from Kali came in, but again, his time was shortly because of his, because he took ill. Apart from that, we've been gambling. We bring in this, we bring in that. We even had, there was also someone, one of the goalkeepers, I can't remember his name now, from the South African League.
Okay, is it Daniel Akpeyi?
Yeah, Daniel. So we
had Greg Itafia.
Yeah, we have had Greg. Greg, for me, has always been average. So I was even surprised that at some point he made it to the Super Eagles. Maybe because they just initially wanted to encourage him as a young, homegrown talent.
Before he moved to South Africa.
But again, when he was trying to develop was when we still had like very good established goalkeepers. So it was difficult for him to break in. But now the opportunity has been thrown open. And all those who have been, who were expected to grab that opportunity have flopped. So right now, I support what Dele is saying, which is look inwards. Maybe try the Remo Stars goalkeeper and get a good goalkeeping coach. I don't think Ike Shomo has, done well, because you can't be there and your goalkeepers will be letting in very cheap goals. Look at shots from against Ghana. We considered a shot from,
although before that, I still remember during that Ghana time, it was Aloy Agu who was in charge as the goalkeeper.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All this period, we've not done well with our goalkeeping coach, hiring of goalkeeping coaches. Yeah, that they were former goalkeepers doesn't qualify them. Are they really qualified? Are they, really the best?
I still don't understand why Peter Rufai has not been given this chance all this while. It has always been Aloy Agu, Ikeshurumu. I still don't understand.
But you should know it's all about politics. There are some people who just don't want to get involved in politics of football. Politics in football is so toxic that not everyone wants to get immersed in it. You remember when even Coach and the rest tried to get in. Look at even Victor Ekpeba and all that, still trying to see how they can get in, but they're always being frustrated. You have a group of people who are the NFF who over the years have continued to recycle themselves, they continue to recycle their proteges and all that. So it's a case of every year, because of the money involved. It's not really about patriotism. So let's see if we can change, maybe possibly, even if it means hiring a foreign goalkeeping coach.
Yeah, but now let's look at this man on the screen, Vincent Iyama. Yeah. Vincent Iyama, someone just mentioned that, okay, if we can't get it right, Vincent Iyama started like a joke, then he became the one they named the cat. And why don't we even try him to be our goalkeeper's coach? Maybe he can easily look inward and say, okay, I did it from here before I moved to Israel, before I moved to every other place I actually
No,
played.
sometimes, like I mentioned to you earlier, it's not about the talent. Also, it's about your temperament. Vincent has not shown that man management skills over time. Remember, he had, a fallout with the NFF officials over time while he was captain.
Outburst, serious outburst.
Do you think, we've had two captains of the Super Eagles who had these issues, which is Vincent Inyama and Sunday Olise. Yeah, as much as they're talented, as much as they know what they're doing, again, you have to balance, you have to play the politics right. You also have to have the right temperament to be able to fit into the system. So I don't see Vincent coming in to kowtow to what they do at the NFF. There are certain things he will not tolerate, just same way as Sunday Olise. So for him, I don't think if bringing him in, unless maybe if the coach himself now says, okay, you know what, Vincent, can you help us in a consultancy role? But if it's for Vincent, I don't see a Vincent Inyama that I know going to the NFF and maybe they owe him and he'll keep quiet. I mean, when they owed him salaries and all that, the others keep quiet. I don't see Vincent keeping quiet. So maybe he's not playing the right politics. And for him, it's either I get the job done and you treat me right, or I don't fit in. So that's the problem. But I feel like if it needs begging him to come, maybe work with some of these goalkeepers and be able to help more like identify goalkeepers that we can also groom. For me, that Remo Stars goalkeeper should be groomed, should be encouraged. Give him a shot, groom him, and let's see
what he can do.
What he can be able to do.
Let's see what will happen concerning this particular department in Super Eagles. The goalkeeping department is not really actually going well right now because of a lot of the way we concede. Actually, the way we concede goal is just too much. We have to quickly work on that. Well, looking at Dele Aiyenugba advising Coach Peseiro there that he should look inward. Remo Star goalkeeper has been touted by a lot of Nigerians that is good enough. Let's give him a chance. Well, we're waiting concerning that from Jose Peseiro if he will actually look inward. Let's quickly look at some matches that are becoming in the Women's Champions League. They played the first leg, and now we are looking at the second leg fixtures. Women's Champions League qualifying second round fixtures. Rosengard women from Sweden, they'll be playing against Brann women of Norway. Hacken women against PSG feminines. Ajax versus Arsenal women, a big match there. St. Pölten of Austria will be playing against Finland Cups women. You have SFK 2000 women against Zurich. Real Madrid Femenino will be hosting Rosenborg women, and Benfica women will play against Rangers. Juventus versus HB Kog women. Those are the matches that will be coming up just tonight in the UEFA Champions. And you look at Rosengard against Brann, actually ended 1-1 in the first leg. Hacken versus PSG, you have 2-1. You have 2-2 between Ajax and Arsenal, another big one there. While the other one, that's Pölten against Cups, you have 1-0 aggregate. 7-0 coming from Zurich against SFK 2000. Real Madrid Femenino are leading with 3-0 there against Rosenborg in the first leg. Benfica against Rangers is standing 3-2. And Juventus Feminine against Kog women actually playing 1-0 draw there in the first leg. The second leg is coming up tonight, and that will be a big one among all these clubs that will be playing. Let's switch to the international friendlies that was actually played yesterday, even early this morning. A lot of games were played before we got to the evening. Now we look at the international friendlies results, starting from Uzbekistan against Costa Rica. South Korea, Cameroon, they pipped Cameroon by a lone goal. Japan, 0-0 against Ecuador. Indonesia 2, Curacao 1. Iran, it was 1-1 against Senegal. Good one for the two teams. They've been fantastic so far. United Arab Emirates, they were walloped by Venezuela 1-2-3-4. Bahrain 0, Panama 2. Uruguay 2, Canada 0. You have South Africa playing against Botswana, the neighbor, and it ended 1-0 against in favor rather of South Africa. And all other results: Libya 2, Tanzania 1. You have Cote d'Ivoire defeating Guinea 3-1, Egypt 3, Liberia 0. Qatar 2, Chile 2, Nicaragua, they were actually beaten by Ghana by a lone goal. Good one for Ghana. They at least rising to the occasion. USA against Saudi Arabia ended 0-0. And you have Brazil, the Samba boys came out roaring 5-1 against Tunisia. Israel 1, Malta 2. Paraguay 2, Morocco Well, actually, it ended that way. Argentina playing, well, I think a lot of, there was a little mix-up there. Argentina won their game against Jamaica. Well, while we're talking about that, let's quickly look at some of these fixtures. I love the fact that Senegal against Iran. If you look at Senegal versus Iran, when they play international football, before the game, you always want to underrate them, but they always come out very, very strong. Senegal, in their own right, they are very good, champions of Africa. They want to go to the World Cup. Coach Cisse is doing a wonderful job, and the entire squad seems to be ready. Yeah,
for Senegal, Iran, like you mentioned, they always looked, like a team. Oh, when you hear Iran, you say, okay, and
you just want to underrate them.
Is that a football nation? But over time, it's about team play. They've maintained a crop of same players who understand themselves, who understand the instructions of their coach, and they've always played, together. They've played well as a very good team. And if they entertain, they attack, they never give up until the end of the game. But one of the shocking results there, actually, for me, is Qatar getting a 2-2 against Chile. Because, Qatar, I lived in Qatar, I watched the team, a crop of young players. They've been doing so well.
But not to be compared to Chile.
Yeah, because I'm really surprised how they managed to hold Chile to a 2-2 draw, because Chile has got some really well-established players. But again, you don't underrate the determination of the young Qatari team. They've also exposed the team in terms of, like, they played several friendlies, trying to prepare themselves. Since they're not involved in any qualifiers, they've been playing friendlies and playing top-level teams. So that has also helped them in terms of this thing. And then you talk about the Brazil versus Tunisia. I watched the game last night. I felt the game was going to be even at the end of the day. Brazil scoring, and then Tunisia quickly equalized. And I was like, whoa, this is an interesting game. I sat back. And then the next thing, they started letting in goals after goals. But again, the Brazilians will never stop scoring. I was looking at the Brazilian team, and I'm like, if this team doesn't win the World Cup, then there's a problem. I don't think the coach should be spared if Brazil doesn't win the World Cup. You look at the players. Each time they do, they sub, they bring on the subs.
It's like nothing has
changed. I mean, you have someone, you have players like Rodrigo, the new Manchester United winger, Anthony, sitting on the bench. Because again, who are they going to bench? You have Vinicius playing there. You have Rafael. You have,
Rafinha,
Rafinha, sorry. You have Daniel, the new Tottenham player. All these are established players that can walk into, Richarlison, who can walk into any team across the world. And then yesterday, it was even funny that, you could still see Silva struggling to see if he can get a place on the plane, because he was there yesterday. And Neymar struggling. Neymar is no longer like the leading light of the team, even though, like against Ghana, he provided 2 assists and fluffed a whole lot of chances. Yesterday, he was struggling as well. But by and large, they say give him some bit of respect. But without Neymar, Brazil is still good to go. Without Silva, they're still good to go. It shows you the strength of that team is in the depth of talent, because they have so much. So at some point, I was like, maybe they should even give them an opportunity to present like 3 teams at the World Cup, because some of the players that will be dropped eventually, it will be so painful that star players like them will be left out of the team. And it will be very, it will be very interesting to watch and see the final team that they will be taking to the World Cup, who's going to make it, and those that will be left out of the team.
While you're talking about Brazil for what they have been doing so far in the friendlies, I will also talk about Argentina. Now attention is not really on them. I remember 2002 World Cup, Korea, Japan, attention was really on them. In fact, they were touted as the best squad in the tournament, but they didn't go anywhere. But this time around, attention has actually fizzled about them. Not much hype or Argentines, this. Messi and the entire squad have been doing wonderfully well, quietly. Their last game, they won.
They have a crop of good players, but it's just that they don't have those star names that you can just say, okay, oh, this is a shining star.
The way it was then.
Because when you had a whole lot of star glut, just like what Brazilians are experiencing now. So sometimes, again, this star glut thing, results negatively, because at the end, when they go there, maybe they don't play according to instructions because they feel like they're already big stars. They want to showboat at the World Cup. That's where the problem lies. Because like for the Brazilians, I feel that their major problem for Brazil is the central defense. The central defense pairings most times suffers, except maybe when you have established defensive holding midfielders like Casemiro in front, who'll be able to, because even someone like Fabinho of Liverpool is struggling to make the team. That's to tell you how solid they are. But again, let's see. But for the Argentines,
Fred,
they have
the Manchester United Fred.
Fred is just there. Fred is more like a fringe player when it comes to
Brazil.
Yeah, and I'm like, really? That shows you the depth of talent, in that's the glut of stars that they have. If somebody like Fred will come and will be swallowed in that particular team. But for the Argentines, maybe this might just work for them. But again, considering that all the balls before now will go to Messi. Messi is not the Messi that we know. I don't know what really is wrong with Messi, whether it's psychological or whether it's because of the team where he's playing now, because he looks subdued compared to the Messi of Barcelona, where, once he holds the ball, you know that something is going to happen.
Although actually he has been scoring anyway for Argentina. He still scored yesterday, or rather today, earlier today.
But again, the attention is also not much on Messi like it used to be over the years.
Of course, it has
Maybe
dropped.
because since he moved to PSG, that attention has somewhat dropped, because they're looking at it, you're playing in the Farmers League, like they want to call it.
I still don't know why Nigeria has great French league where so much talent, they call it Farmers League.
But if you look at it, beyond PSG and maybe
Leon,
to some extent, not even
Marseille,
Leon,
Monaco.
Maybe Monaco. How many stars in terms of the other teams? So you look at it, PSG is more like, it's a runaway stuff for PSG every year. Before you know, even this days, they've tried to close the gap among other teams. Before now, you see PSG almost
15 points
ahead and all that. That won't happen in the English Premier League. That won't even happen sometimes in the German Bundesliga. It won't happen in the Italian Serie A, which is actually why you see the rating is not as high, even though like PSG alone has stars that can take over 10 teams. But again, one team is more like a one-team league. That's actually why you see the rating is not that high.
Well, from the way it is, it seems, I actually saw I bumped into a news that says that Google actually guessing the countries that will win the World Cup. They didn't mention Argentina, they didn't mention Portugal, although the Brazil you mentioned is actually among, but really, World Cup has just been very funny, very, very funny when it comes to who will win the competition.
Yeah, just like Belgium. Belgium would always have all the stars.
Netherlands too, the same, Dutch team.
Yeah, they're perennial underachiever. The Dutch team, the Belgian side, they have all the stars, but something just doesn't click when they get to championships. Either they lose the quarterfinals, maybe at the knockout stage, something will just happen and they will lose out. So, are
you seeing the same thing happening to France now? Because it seems, despite them having so much stars, they kind of struggle in the NFL.
No. Stars on paper for the French team, but as a team, they've actually not impressed that much. The rate at which they concede very silly goals, more like schoolboy errors at the back, and before you know, they are conceding goals. So that would actually count against them, especially when they play very tough opposition at the World Cup.
Well, we've been talking concerning all the matches played, friendly games are actually played during the FIFA international window, and it has been a wonderful one. Easy ride for Brazil so far against Ghana, against Tunisia, and they are rearing to go. Well, we'll be looking at more of the stories that trend in the world of transfer. Some players are actually moved, while some coaches also, they've moved. Let's look at another story that we've been talking about that has to do with defender Buhari Ibrahim, who used to play for Plateau United, has now moved to join Swedish side If Elfsborg from Plateau United on a 4-year deal. Congrats to Buhari Ibrahim. Hopefully, he will be able to showcase why they splashed some cash on him from Elfsborg of Sweden there. Congrats to Ibrahim Buhari. And then Abia Warriors appoint Erasmus Onu as coach. Erasmus Onu used to be a coach with Atlant, and now he has moved to take the place of Emmanuel Duch that was actually separated from that club. Good one. Let's see what Abia Warriors will be having with Erasmus Onu by the time the league resumes. And we look at the two more stories before we go with Fidelis Zumba here. Chelsea sacked head physio, that's physiotherapist of that club for 17 years. He has been with them, Thierry Laurent, after 17 years at Stamford Bridge. He has been with them for 17 years. And now they are actually doing it like a cleanup from Todd Bowley. Just yesterday, he joined the fourth backroom staff that will be sacked. They relieved the medical, that's their head of medical. Now the physio has to go. Thierry Laurent, 17 years. The medical spent 11. He spent 17. And now the way analysts are saying, the way you are changing or removing these guys will have adverse effects on the team. If you remember, Marina Graskaya, that's the sporting director who knows how to get players for Chelsea. Since she left, it has been one player, either they buy a wrong player or they spend too much money on a player, and now it has not really all go well for Chelsea. And this is happening again. Well,
the new owner has been very brutal in terms of the changes. He's not making any pretenses about it.
I even heard that this guy was sacked on Zoom.
Because if you also look at Tuchel's sack, he never knew until, he said his sack was a shock to him. He wasn't discussed. He just came in and they told him, guy, you have to leave. I think what he wants a total overhaul. The Americans are not joking, especially when it comes to business. And also considering that in January, in fact, there will be more sacks before January, because there are already speculations that Chelsea is going for Ronaldo again. Because why they are going for Ronaldo is not totally football reasons. It's because of the marketing
reason. Yes.
For the American, what matters in this case is the money. It's not really, as much as he wants to make the fans happy, which is, he's already done that, which is by splashing the cash. He's spent so much money, more than any other person. So the fans are happy, the players have been brought in. Now, Tuchel has been taken out for not grinding out results, and you have a new coach. Graham Potter is now around, so hoping that he'll put the team together. And don't be surprised if Graham doesn't give him what he wants.
Somebody's already on the pie.
So
on the line.
For them, it's more of business. Football is business. And you can't also spend so much money and be playing, like a mediocre kind of grinding mediocre results, and also not entertaining like as they want. So for me, the staff should expect this. I mean, Czech had already also left, and the owner took over as the sporting, the sporting director. He's the one who was in charge of transfers, even though he's made his mistakes, but he felt, look, I can handle it because I've also handled other football franchises in the US, which is actually a different ball game
when it comes to Europe.
When it comes to football in Europe, especially in England, where there's so much media scrutiny. So, he knows best. He's invested his money. His money is at risk, even though fans are really worried at the rate which he's making the changes. But we hope that at the end he'll come up with, the results, the new recruitments will work in his favor, and they'll grind out the best results.
Well, I would take the last one that has to do with the sporting director appointment for Chelsea. Well, it has been one a particular person to the other, but this time around, Chelsea to hold more talks with Bayern Leverkusen team citing as sporting director. They actually move around to Leipzig, to this club. Everyone seems to be rejecting Chelsea's offer, but this time around, it seems the radar is on Bayern Leverkusen's team citing to be appointed as sporting director. Maybe finally we can see if this one works out.
The thing is, they're not rejecting these offers because of Chelsea. They are rejecting it because they've already seen signs that, look, this guy is a no-nonsense businessman.
If we accept
I
this
don't want
offer,
to leave my comfort zone to go to another place and then get fired after a few months. Because they're also looking at their CVs. It damages your CV when you just go and then you're sacked after a few months. People will feel like you're not
something went
capable.
wrong.
Yeah. So that's most of them are not ready to gamble. It's not all about the money. It's also about their prestige, also about their reputation, which will be at risk when they take the offer.
Well, that will be it on 360 Sport. Dele Aiyenugba has been doing us good by giving us much analysis concerning all the story we've taken so far. Well, let's see what we're having concerning the Chelsea team. Would they be getting the sporting director, and also would they be getting the new physio? It has been sack. They are concerning Chelsea. We want to appreciate you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Adeni. It's my pleasure being here.
Good one. I am Adeni Ajishafe. Thanks for watching.